Sean Ruggiero, president and founder of Safe Money Smart. I'm here today to continue training on the estate planning lead by social insurance leads. So we're going to talk about the second sales opportunity after completing the Final Wishes Guide, and that is the protecting your home from creditors. So in the inventory of assets section at the bottom here, we ask about real estate. What do they own? Many people, if they own a home, it's their primary residence, and for many people, their primary residence is the largest asset that they will accumulate. You know, when you look at something that can be $250,000, $500,000, $750,000 in value, it's a pretty valuable asset. So we want to make sure that we take care of it. When you die, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, okay, so we're going to ask them, and we ask it right here in the inventory section, inventory of assets. Real estate, we want the address, how its title is held, and is there a mortgage or not? And along with the value, or what we think the value is. So it's going to be one of two situations when someone dies. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you're either going to have a house still mortgaged, or you're going to have a house not mortgaged. All right. Now let's talk about that here a little bit. A little bit of education on mortgage protection for the deceased and how we plan properly. If the house is mortgaged, then are they going to go the full term, 30 years, maybe 15 years, and have it paid off before they die? We are seeing a phenomenon here where, due to many factors, and I don't want to go into those, but mortgages are being taken out much later in life. People, if you run mortgage protection, you probably see this all the time. People who are 60, 70, even 80 years old, because they do not discriminate on age when it comes to giving a mortgage. You can be any age, and as long as you qualify, you will receive a mortgage. But they also don't discriminate on foreclosures. So we have people that are 70 years old, and they're on a 30-year note. Well, how aggressively are they going to pay that note off when they're not re-entering the workforce? Social Security is only going to go up with inflation and be offset by Medicare costs. They really have no chance of paying off early. So what they need to do is they need to plan and protect for when they do pass. How do they keep their spouse in the home, or if they're the last to live, how do they keep that home going to their loved ones and not being taken back by the mortgage company? So if it's mortgaged, that's what we're looking at. If it's not mortgaged, okay, and I need to tell you, every state is different and every scenario is different, but what you will find happening is something that has burned people before, and that is a situation where they don't have a mortgage, the house is paid off, but it is not titled correctly. They are the sole owners at death, or the person who is in joint ownership with them has already passed. So they are in essence the sole owner. So what we need to look at is again, making sure that we understand. We have a blanket statement. And let's say here I am going to role play with Mr. and Mrs. Smith on protecting their home off of the inventory of assets upon completion of the Final Wishes Guide. So, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we've completed the Final Wishes Guide. I will be emailing you a copy of this as well as the free will kit, and I will be sending it to your loved ones who want a copy also. But as an estate planner, I'm looking at something here that gives me concern, and that is the house, okay? So you all currently have a mortgage, and this is a 30-year note. That's what you told me. And Mr. Smith, you're 68 years old. So based on the 30-year note, making those payments, you would have to live to 98 to pay this off. Now, is there any way that you can be paying this home off early? You know, is there an inheritance or something I'm not aware of? Because for most people in your situation, they're not going to start earning more money. In fact, you're retired, Mr. Smith. You're going to be living off Social Security and or whatever pension they might have. It's kind of a fixed budget thing. So there is a very high likelihood that if you pass, you're going to be passing with the mortgage still left to be paid. Now, it won't be the full $210,000 that you listed the mortgage at. It might be down to $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. So what I recommend is some way to protect Mrs. Smith and your family upon your death so they don't lose the home. Now, at that point, I'm going to recommend an affordable whole life policy. It's that straightforward. It's that simple. I can give him a $50,000 policy. Now, if he dies, they can at least make payments for 5 years while they're looking to sell it, or they can pay it off, depending on how long he lived and how far the mortgage got paid off. So that's option number one. Let's say option number two, they don't have a mortgage. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I see that you've paid off your home. Fantastic. As far as title head, you said joint ownership for title. Okay. Here's something that concerns me. You have no life insurance listed. Now, my job as an insurance agent and as a estate planner is to look out for possible hiccups in the retirement plan. And here's one that can be a potentially big one. Now, I don't profess to know every state's laws and innuendos of those laws, but what I do know is that if Mrs. Smith dies, or if you die and she's still alive and you have no mortgage, you're essentially a sole owner of that home. If there are any debts or any creditors that you owe money to upon your death, they can, in some instances, force you to sell the home. Now you say, well, we don't have any debts, and let's say that's the case. That might not be the case when we're ending life. Have you heard of something called the retirement spending smile? It means that early in retirement, right, in their 60s, they're spending money because they're enjoying their retirement. Then as they get older, they slow down, and that spending comes way down. And then there's a spike at the end. Do you know what the spike is when they get into their mid-80s or 90s? It's not the fact that they went out and decided to go party or take a bunch of trips. It has to do with healthcare costs. See, that's the big unknown. So because we don't know exactly how healthcare costs or nursing home costs are going to affect you, you might have a debt upon death that you don't have currently, but you will have later, and it could affect your assets, including your home. So what I suggest is that we set something aside, something affordable, and now here we are. We're back to offering something based on an annuity if they have those assets, or life insurance if they don't have any retirement assets that can be used to specifically protect that home. Because why? That home has sentimental value, that home has real value, and that home quite possibly is the largest investment that they've ever had or would pass on to their loved ones. So that's how we're going to take advantage of sales opportunity number 2, protecting their home from creditors. Thank you.